Hello and welcome to this week's episode of my podcast, The Pocket Stylist. I'm Lisa Talbot and today I am joined by a guest. Now, this guest has been in my world for quite a long time, but we've never actually spoken. But I know it is a brand that so many of you will love and you'll benefit from. So, first of all, I'm going to introduce you to Jennifer Bailey of Calla Shoes. So, Jennifer, hello, how are you?
I'm really good, thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm really looking forward to this because I don't know all of your story, so it's going to be just as good for me to listen to as well. And I think so many ladies will benefit from you and your brand and everything. So, listen, I know it as you've become such a go-to brand and shoes for women who kind of want this lovely, beautiful, stylish shoe, but they want comfort, don't they? So
Yeah.
I would love to know what inspired you to start the brand, and did you kind of have this light bulb moment that went, I need to do this? Tell us how it all got going.
So I've always, loved my shoes. And I would say that in my 20s, I and probably my teenage years, being a girl of the 90s, 80s, 90s, I loved like a stiletto or a high heel. I'm only 5'4", and I used to love wearing a really high heel all the time. Um, and I guess in your 20s, comfort isn't necessarily, or it wasn't back then, um, the first thing on your mind. It was always like, how tall will it make me, and how gorgeous are they? What color is it?
Yeah,
That
yeah.
kind of thing. But what I didn't know at the time is that I was developing a bunion. And when I look back, or bunions on both feet, and bunions, if you don't know what they are, they're like a deformity at the base of the big toe, which causes your big toe to drift over to your other one. So you end up with a big lump basically at the side of your foot. Um, and if I look back, I probably was developing it for my teenage years because I do remember somebody saying to me at school once, "Why have you got that weird thing on your shoe sticking out?" Um, but n no one in my family really said anything. Like my mum never mentioned it, and because it didn't bother me, I could still wear whatever I wanted, footwear wise. I didn't notice it. But then as it got bigger over time, um, I by the time I got to probably 28-ish, I suddenly realized that it was there because it was impacting on my footwear choices.
Yeah.
Because it was either painful or it was a bit unattractive, the way it kind of hung out the side of a strap on a sandal, that kind of stuff. And I started to become a little bit more conscious about it and making my footwear choices accordingly. And then when I was 31-ish, my then boyfriend proposed, and I started to kind of think about, oh, right, okay, we've got, a wedding shoe concern.
Dilemma.
Dilemma, yeah. Because I had found a couple of heels that I used to wear when I went out, but they were I literally had two and I wore them to death, and they were just designed in a way that they were still comfortable for me, but they weren't like specially designed for my feet. You just find that pair of shoes that happens to be comfortable. So that's kind of what I had. And that's kind of when I just thought, oh, there could be an issue here. So I started to go around all the shops and trying to find something really pretty. I got married in Italy. I had quite like a nice small intimate wedding in Italy, and I had this really beautiful dress. And obviously, you want the shoes to go with the
Yeah,
dress.
yeah.
Um, and I just couldn't find anything in the stores. And I thought, well, maybe someone's doing this somewhere else in the world. Maybe someone's making, really pretty shoes for women who have bunions. So I kind of started on my Google search, and that took me, down to the depths of whatever page you get to, hoping that somebody's done it, but they've not very good
Yeah,
at,
yeah.
marketing. I just couldn't find anything. The only kind of bunion shoes out there were like these horrific Velcro strapped, orthopedic looking shoes that, you know, I don't think I'm ever going to wear as long as I live. Even if I get to 100, I'm
Yeah,
not going to
yeah.
wear them. So definitely not wedding shoes. So that's kind of the light bulb moment. So I just bought a pair of shoes that kind of fitted. And then after the wedding, I took them off and just put on this oud pair of shoes that I was talking to you about that I had, these, but they didn't go with my wedding dress. And I put it on LinkedIn the other day, the photograph of where I'm dancing and I've hiked my dress up and you can see them. Um, and it was around that time, and I actually remember saying the words to my now husband, one day I'm going to make shoes for women like me. And then it was parked. So that was the light bulb moment.
It's
And then
interesting, isn't it? Because,
yeah.
sorry, your light bulb moment came out of a need of necessity for
Mm.
you. And they say, don't they, so many women and businesses are started by people thinking, why isn't there this? Why
Yeah.
isn't there this? So your light bulb moment came out of, a desire to have something beautiful for your wedding.
Yeah, exactly. And then I spoke, I mean, you saying that, I've spoke all of my female entrepreneur friends have done the same thing. They're very, the greatest products come from a very personal need and understand, like when you look out in the market, there's nothing there. And it kind of probably has been because of a very male dominated, business world for quite a long time, even though I think that things are changing. But the footwear industry is incredibly dominated by men. And if you think about all of the top brands, that are out there, your Gucci and your Manolo Blahnik, your Christian Louboutin. These are shoes that are, given to us by men without any consideration of what we might actually want on our feet from a comfort point of view. So anyway, that's my feminist rant. But this is, yeah, there's loads of incredible female-led brands that we're creating products that are very specifically for our gender, and for us because we understand the problem. But yeah, so I spent a few years after the light bulb moment not setting up a shoe business because my background is not footwear, it's not fashion, even though I'm
Yeah, yeah.
interested. I worked at a university as in marketing as like student recruitment and brand for the university and that kind of thing. So yeah, wasn't
No
running
design background at all.
nothing. No, marketing. I did business at uni. Done my post grad qualifications in marketing. So that's it, really. It's just from a no fashion design background, no at all. Um, but I do love like branding and that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Not saying like I'm the best in the world at it by any means, but that's what I love doing and creating strong brands. So yeah, but I was in a redundancy situation in 11, 12 years ago. And then I found myself that I was pregnant as well with my second daughter. And um, I don't know, this is another thing that I think pushes a lot of people into starting their own business. And you get caught into this situation where you go, I've got a few like choices here. I had a daughter. I'd gone back to my job after mat leave. So I had one who was like 1 year old. I found out I got pregnant again. The pregnancy was a surprise because it took me a long time to get my first daughter. And the second one, I mean, literally, it was a big surprise. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't planned and we didn't try. Um, so, but then because of that, the stress, you have that additional layer of stress as a mom, I guess, where you go, I I'd lost babies before. I didn't want to lose this baby. I was in a redundancy situation and I thought actually I need just to get a bit of control back in my life.
Yeah.
And it was really stressful where I was working. I had like a new boss that was horrific, but and for a woman, she was horrific. And I just thought I need to take this redundancy and do something else completely different. And that's why I thought, oh, I'm just going to start my own business. And I don't know why I
But
thought that.
But you know
And
what?
actually,
I
I
love
go,
that because I think that's really interesting. Because when you said about redundancy and it made you rethink things, I started my styling business 18 years ago when I was made redundant, and
ah,
my twins were, uh, well, my twins then were just a year old because I'd had them and I was like, do I go back to work?
right.
And I will never forget my mum. I used to say to my mum, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And she used to say, don't worry about it. It will work itself out. You will work it out. And but redundancy, I think, forced me to go, I want to be at home with these two children. I want to look after them. I want to nurture them. That was just my kind of nature. But it was really interesting because redundancy allowed me to do that. So it's like you said, it kind of forces your hand and makes you think differently, doesn't it? And go, oh, actually, I could try something different.
Yeah, I was the same as you. I thought I was going to have two under two at home. I didn't really want to go and look for another job, massively pregnant. I didn't, and before COVID, it was actually really hard to get flexible working or working from home type jobs,
Hmm.
unless you'd like been in the position for, and proved your worth. So I thought I'm really going to struggle actually going to find another job, um, and be able to be there at home for like pick up drop off and all that and nurseries are a pain, aren't they, because you can only drop them off at 7:30. I was working in Manchester at the time, which was like an hour's commute, and so just to kind of get in and out of work when I had my first daughter was tough. And I hated dropping her off in the dark and picking her up in the dark,
Yeah,
in winter. I
yeah.
don't know why, but I just hated only seeing my baby in the dark.
Yeah. They
um
say though, don't they? They say success for so many is measured in different ways. And I think that's really interesting. The success for me, somebody said to me once, what's a success in your business? And I said that success was I can do school drop off and
yeah,
I do school pickup because that's how I measured success. For us as a family, that's what we wanted. And, for me, quite selfishly, I could watch the school plays, I could go to sports days, all that type of thing. But it is success is measured so differently. But I'm really intrigued because obviously you kind of say to yourself, I'm going to do something different and I'm going to
yeah.
maybe I'll do the shoes. But how did you start that? Because it's not like saying, well, I work in marketing and I'm suddenly going to go and work in finance. You had a completely different shift because yours is all about designing and creating something that solves a problem.
I know, to be honest, naivety, I think
Brilliant
really
sometimes
helps.
though, isn't it?
Yeah, I think I've talked to a few other people that have, done something like I've done, you know what I mean, where they've no background in that area at all, but want to solve a problem, really passionately want to solve a problem, and actually approaching it very naively has been the way to do it. That's been the success factor because you don't have any preconceived ideas or processes or traditions of the way that something should be done. So um I when I look back, I mean, bearing in mind that I was pregnant when I was 20 weeks pregnant when I decided I was going to do it. And then when Emily was 3, 4 months old, I'd flew out to Portugal to visit factories. So that bit there was a bit of a blur between 20 weeks pregnant and 3 months old because I couldn't tell you exactly what I did to get to that point where I had factories to go and visit. But I think a lot of it was Google and LinkedIn. I reached out to the British Footwear Association and a lady there, and I can't even remember her name, but she gave me some really good basic advice on how she told me how shoes were made, how much, I might be prepared to pay, said you want to be looking in Europe to start with because the minimum quantity orders are lower. The quality's really good. And she said you can look at Spain, Portugal, Italy. So she gave me all like the basics. Um, I am a bit of a SWAT and I love learning and studying and all of that kind of stuff. So that really helps when you want to start your own business because there's a lot to learn if you've never
Hmm.
done one before and you've got no mentor in your immediate life. People
Yeah.
who set up businesses when their mum and dad own businesses, actually they have they have that knowledge by osmosis by just looking and learning. Whereas I didn't have any of that. So I have literally winged it for like 10 years.
But I
But
think you're
anyway,
right. I
but
think that whole naivety side, but you had a thirst for kind of passion. And I do think someone I'll never forget someone said to me once, "What's your business plan?" When I first started my business, I said, "I don't have one." And I think they were horrified. This man like took this massive gulp of air and went, "What, no business plan?" I was like, "No, I just know what I need to do. I know how to get there and I know how I'm going to do it." And he was like, "But you need a business plan." I said, "No, I don't."
well, that
Because
is a business plan. It's just
it
in your
is.
head.
I
You haven't
had it.
written
It was
down.
in
Yeah,
my
yeah,
head,
yeah, yeah.
Um,
You just got
so
to keep taking steps forward. So I flew out to Portugal, and then I I kind of like pitched to the factories that I went to visit and told them my idea. And I'd already done quite a lot of research on the size of the market, and I had that data to back it up. And I was very fortunate that one of the factory owners that I spoke to was a woman, and that's quite unusual in the footwear industry. They're mostly run by men. And she would be probably my age now, maybe, I'd say. And she'd taken on a contract with, and I couldn't tell you the name of the company, but they made shoes, women's shoes um for men basically, or for transsexuals or transvestites. So they started from a size like 9 and went up from there. Um and she made a lot of shoes for this company that was like an online company. So she said she could see the potential in a niche, basically. So even though this had never been done before, the way I wanted to do it, um, in her experience, she said she sees the value in that niche. So she took a chance, basically. And that's kind of what you need when you're looking for a factory. You need somebody to take that chance on you. But that's up to you to convince them. Like I would never just introduce, if you said to me, right, Jenny, I want to start up a shoe brand, and can you tell me who your factory is? I'd feel a bit funny about that, because that's a personal recommendation that I would make on that factory's behalf. I'd want to know more about, not a business plan, but your general passion, your vision of what
Yeah,
you're,
yeah, yeah.
want to do. So they believed in me, and we still work with them now.
That's
Um,
fantastic.
yeah, yeah, but I was winging it, so it wasn't about the drawing of the shoe. So let me just kind of grab a shoe. Like it's not. Is this going to be on camera as well? Or is this just on
No, no, we can put this on we can put it on Zoom so the
Yeah, let me
ladies
find.
that are watching, we can actually show this because it's
Yeah.
fantastic to show it, what you're going to show.
Yeah, so for example, this is one of our heeled sandals. And you could draw this shoe, for example. I mean, and I can't draw, so I got somebody else to kind of design a shoe. But I've have always been 100% involved in the product design side of it. So trying to understand where the straps need to be positioned, what materials they need to be made out of, the heel height to maybe the platform height, the width of the front of the shoe, because it's my feet essentially that I use
Yep.
as knowing how it feels in the shoe. So that's where we started. We just started with 4 designs. Actually, we started with 3 heels and 1 pair of flats. And I was only going to do heels at first because that's the thing that I found the hardest to find. And obviously, it kind of came from the wedding heels thing. But then when I did my research and I had kind of like a little tribe of people that I'd found online that had bunions
Yeah.
and wanted these shoes, and they said, "Oh, actually, we also just need a pair of flats to wear like day to day." So I did a flat as well, and that was it. And they weren't perfect. Like we have improved the design so much over the last 10 years and are always in continual improvement as technology changes and materials change and stuff. But yeah, so that's kind of it. I just went in, they made a shoe, I try it on. I'd be like, no, you need to add some more volume here. So shoes are made on a last.
Yeah.
And a last is basically, if you don't know, um, um, it's kind of like the mannequin that you put your materials around. So I say a mannequin because
They're
people,
normally wooden, aren't they, Jennifer?
well, no, that's
Oh, is that the old,
the
like,
old-fashioned
vintage
way. Yeah,
way?
yeah, where you carve it out of wood.
Okay.
These days they're made out of like a resin, like
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
that type of I don't think I've got one here to show you actually, but the like a big hard plastic because they
Yeah.
last longer.
Yeah, yeah.
And they can go around on the machinery without getting damaged and all that kind of stuff. And they're cheaper to make as well. So we had to have our own bespoke last made, and we still use those lasts now. So we have our own bespoke last made, but for each style, you need a brand new last. Um, and so like this style will have a last, but if I changed the heel and didn't have a platform, it'd need another new last. But essentially, all of our lasts are based on a normal shoe. I would call that like a normal shoe, but we add more volume and width at the front, um, in the toe box
Yeah.
because that's where you need the space. And the way that we've kind of, I guess, developed over the years is that I did it that way because that's where bunions need space. But we found that actually all women benefit from a bit more room in the toe box
Yeah.
because it means your feet aren't scrunched, your toes have room to spread,
Yeah.
and which means you can wear them for longer, they're more comfortable. So the brand has moved on from a bunion brand to more of a comfort brand, just because we give people that volume in the toe box.
Yeah.
The only women who couldn't wear our shoes are if you have very, very narrow feet. Like, you know what I mean? Like people who
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
little.
Yeah.
But
And
as you get older, even those feet, they start getting wider, don't they?
mm,
Because you're using them, you're constantly on them, all
yeah.
the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, so
I
it's
I think that's really interesting how you said that because so many now, isn't it? It's about people want to have stylish shoes, but the biggest thing now is comfort. And I think because the trainer market literally came in, didn't it? And it was like you can wear trainers with anything. You can wear it with your dress, you can wear it
yeah,
with your trousers, you can wear it with anything. I think so many women now really, if I say to a client, are you looking for some shoes, etc., they say yes, but it's got to be comfortable because I'm either running to the train or I'm going to be at an event for 6 hours. I'm going to be on my feet for a long time. So I think interestingly, comfort now comes so much as a kind of partnership people want with their shoes. They don't necessarily want, trainers, not all the time, or flats, but they want to feel comfortable. And I think what you were saying about having the toe area wider, that gives women so much more about comfort. Listen, I know if I'm personal shopping or I'm going to a client, I've got something on my feet that is comfortable, or I really think about what am I doing on this day and
yeah.
what shoes am I going to wear? I know I've got a pair of boots that are really comfortable. So I think that whole comfort side now is just so important to women.
Yeah, exactly. And when I first went out to the factory and I was trying to say to them that I wanted shoes made in this way, it was hard for them because when you they thought that the shoe would look weird. So from an
Mhm.
aesthetic point of view, so they every time they widen the front, they widen the back. And I'm like, no, 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 the back's got to stay the same. It's
Hmm.
the front that's got to be wider. And they're like, but it's going to look weird. And I was like, we're talking millimeters and 5 mil, 8 mil. It won't make the difference you think it will. I knew that because once it's on your foot, nobody notices. It may not look as beautiful as the Manolo Blahnik or whatever, do you know what I mean? Like sitting on that shelf, but they'll be a darn sight more comfortable because of that. Um, and like I say, when they're on your feet, nobody will go, oh, they look wider at the front than they do at the
Yeah,
back. They
yeah.
would never say that ever. So, and once we convinced the factory, or once I convinced the factory to make him in this way, um, they kind of got it. And then now, like I say, whenever we get samples made, I used to have to kind of go get 3 or 4 samples made before I was happy with the fit. Now we're one or two, like they nail it every time. They kind of understand what we're trying to do. Um, so yeah,
But
it's good.
I think what we have on our feet as well, it's same as all styling. It's about confidence. It's about how much confidence that item gives to the person wearing it. So from a lady's perspective, if they have bunions and they're finding the shoes that they've got on are uncomfortable or they're struggling to find the right shoe to go with their outfit, they might feel incredibly brilliant in what they're wearing, but then they feel like their feet let them down. So it is about that whole confidence thing, and
Oh
I'm a
yeah.
huge advocate about confidence. And I think what you wear on your feet completes your outfit. It's the accessory. It helps women show up. It just completes the look, doesn't it? And the fact that you've designed the brand that actually women can be stylish, comfortable, and give them confidence, that's a huge tick.
Yeah, I know. I mean, the thing about the reason I started with bunions is because comfort is amazing.
Hmm.
And most women, any if you ask any woman, they'd want to be comfortable. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Stylish is a bonus, but they really want to be comfortable. But with bunions, if you're not wearing the right shoes, it's instant pain. So it's slightly different. Like you can't even put them on your feet.
Mm.
So the that's kind of like how I built the business initially, because most women can put a pair of shoes on and it's maybe only after an hour that you're like, oh, I need to take these off. But with women with bunions, well, for me, it's almost instant. As soon as I put them on, I'm like, no, I know I can't wear these. Like I
I
can't get
didn't,
them on my foot.
yeah, I didn't really realize, I have to say, the impact until I've worked with a few ladies that have got bunions. And when we've done the shoes, I'm like, this one. And they're like, no, no, Lisa, because exactly like you
Yeah.
said, that strap for a summer sandal, that's not going to work because it's going to sit either side, it's going to rub, etc. Or I'll say, oh, look, this boot's got more of a pointed tone. They're like, no, 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 because that's not going to work. And it's really interesting to well, listen, you from your perspective, is understanding what the need was and the fact that you are almost the model who's, it's all designed around your shoes. You can get that. But I think for ladies, even, I'll hold my hands up, until I'd worked with these ladies, I didn't understand the impact of having a shoe that didn't fit beautifully and that was comfortable, but they're game changers.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of women have quite sensitive feet, I think, especially as you get older and perimenopause and you just become a bit more sensitive in general, like your skin. Like I noticed, I don't know, I think it was like 46 years old or something. I suddenly had to start cutting every label out of all of my clothing. And I was like, oh God, I feel like a teenager again. It must be a hormonal thing. Because my teenage daughter has to cut labels out of stuff. And but everything just, I think it's a thinning of skin.
Mhm.
So everything becomes more sensitive. So yeah, bunions are, you have instant pain, but I noticed that a lot of our women are a bit older, super fashionable,
Mhm.
but a bit older, and it may be not bunions, but it might be just general sensitivities on around the foot. So material choice is really important, and you don't want to put those really stiff leathers that feel like
Yeah.
they're strangling your feet. Like, you'll go around. I used to always go around all the shops and like feel feel
And
the
bend them. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Squeeze it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So there's and that's actually quite hard for an online brand um to demonstrate that, to potential customers, because I spend my life feeling leathers, and going around and feeling them. That's not soft enough. We can't use that. We can't use that. But you can't get. It's really hard to get that across on
Mm.
a website, that the materials are really, really soft, and we consider that in everything we do. There's also another part of construction, just a little bit of a, let me see if I can find the shoe. So there's another part of construction which is like what the structure of the shoe that kind of holds this leather up, and there's um a toe cap. So there'll
Yeah.
be a piece of material that's between the this outer leather bit, the inner the lining, and then there'll be a little bit of leather or another material that kind of make sure that this shape is created, so it doesn't just collapse. Of course, you can get unlined shoes, but a lot of like heels aren't unlined, otherwise
Yeah.
they lose their shape when you wear them. And what we do is that this toe cap, we make sure that it's very thin, very soft leather, so it keeps the shape, but it's not too stiff. So it's still soft here,
It's
but
still
keeps the
soft.
shape, yeah. So there is, educating the factory about what kinds of materials we wanted. Like it wasn't enough just for this bit to be soft where the bunion is. I want, your toes don't want to, they need room to move up and
Hmm.
down when you're walking, or you might have a hammer toe or something like that. So this bit needed to be soft as well. Or you might just again have corns or just
Yeah.
sensitive feet in general. So yeah, a lot of people always say to me, like, technically, what makes the shoes, um, comfortable? There's nothing. I've not invented anything. There's no patent. It's just a combination of me understanding all of the different things that goes into what makes a shoe comfortable and putting them together, basically.
Mm.
And
And
that's
now,
and you can only do that when you're a woman, I think.
yeah, and coming from a person that knows, so you're using your kind of, you are, like we said, you are the example that has made it. And it's interesting. So obviously you've been running this wonderful brand and it's growing, etc. What would you say are some of your biggest lessons? Because obviously style evolves, style changes and whatever. What have you learned along the way regarding your designs, potentially your collections, and how women, I suppose, use their shoes in different ways?
So my customers are my most important part of the company. And, it was a personal pain point, but from the very beginning, it's very much been driven by what other women want, what our customers want. So we listen really hard and take their feedback on board, um, and pretty much design collections about from what their feedback is, what they want. And we a few years ago, there are competitor brands that that are bigger and smaller than us out there in the market, and I wanted to, I guess, like any fashion brand, really. Then I thought we need to do something that carves out our own space so that we're not exactly the same as everyone else because women want choice and I'm happy for them to go to other brands as well, just like you would do with your clothing. You don't shop in one store. You might have different stores for slightly different looks, and needs, and I wanted to give that to our customers as well, so that they could shop from us for one style and maybe from another brand from another style, for example, whatever fitted their particular needs at that time. And so we listened to the customers about what they were wanting, and it's important to women, and it's a weird psychological thing that as well as looking stylish and looking comfortable, we want to be really proud and believe in the brand that we're wearing as well. There's a reason why people might wear one brand of trainer over another, even though they're probably made in the same factory. And some of that is around how the brand makes you feel, isn't it? And what it
Hmm.
stands for. So I thought, right, I'm going to try and move in to being as stylish as we possibly can be. And I'm not saying we're there yet, we're still on this journey, but we started to really study the trends that were coming through WGSN, who were like, how would you describe it? Like they study all the catwalks and tell you what is going to be fashionable next season, don't they?
Yep.
And making sure that we were giving our customers something that was meeting the trend for that season. So we had our staples like a black coat or a black boot, Chelsea boot, or like your bog standard styles. But each season we try and bring something out that is very much for that season as well. And then we kind of rebranded, and our whole brand now is, you know, trying to make women feel really proud of the brand that they're wearing. And, like it's a bit like you might find a really nice pair of shoes in Clark's, but then for me, I didn't want to say, like people say, well, where are your shoes from? You're like, oh, Clark's. I don't know. There's like a bit of an embarrassment factor, isn't there, of wearing what is deemed as an old woman pair of shoes or an old woman brand. I didn't want Calla to be that for our customers because I knew that they were really proud of the clothes they wore, how
Yep.
it made them feel. So I knew that we needed to position ourselves in our own little space, and that's kind of how that's the direction I'm taking the brand. That's how I've been doing it over the last couple of years. So I mean, there's still certain people are like, your shoes aren't fashionable enough. And I'm like, oh, we're trying really hard. There is a point as well that the customers don't understand where we can't do certain styles because they definitely won't be comfortable. Like I know, like there's certain styles that we've tried. And then I'm like, oh no, they're just not going to work. They're never going to be comfortable just because of the trend is we can't modify it basically to make them
Yeah, yeah,
comfortable.
yeah.
So, for example, like slingbacks are really popular at the moment, aren't they? And with a wee, like a little kiss,
Kitten
common
heel.
heel, and then this, the lace up. In fact, this is still there next year, but this is last season. Sometimes we're a bit ahead. Um, but these have been really, really popular. So we'll do the same slingback each season, but we just modify it so that it's in line with whatever trends are going on at that time.
And I think, do you know what? Because obviously I've been on your website. I love looking through your website
Oh,
because you've got flats, you have heels, you have the most, I mean, listen, I'm a trainer girl. You have
yeah,
the
me
most
too, actually.
fantastic like collection of trainers that just are they're fashion forward, that they're just stunning. But then you've got heels, you've got boots, and I love, and I know you put it on your Instagram the other day, I love your new slippers.
Well,
I
these I've got
just
them on today. Look.
have you? Yeah, they are just fantastic because listen, I think nowadays, aren't they? We all wear our when we're at home we all wear slippers or whatever, but we still might need to run out to the listen, my freezer is out in the garage for
Oh,
my
is
dog
it?
food. So I have to run out there and get his dog
Mine
food.
too.
Or yeah, do you know what I mean? Because I've got so he has frozen food, so I
Yeah.
have to get it from the freezer. Anyway, but we wear our slippers more, but they still want to look stylish. If I look at my daughter, so my 21-year-old daughter, she said to me the other day, do you think I would be bad going to the pub in my slippers? Because they don't look like slippers, just like yours don't. And I think this is where you as a brand have taken so much. I know you have wide, you have extra wide, it's, I think women, A, want to feel comfortable, but they still want to feel stylish with their feet. Um, just for the ladies as well. What's your size ranges? Just you
Um,
tell them as well.
at the moment, we go from a size 36 EU, which is a three,
Yeah.
up to a 42 EU, which is around an 8, 9. It kind
Mm.
of gets a little bit, what's it called? The exact,
Yeah, yeah, because it all
uh,
changes, doesn't it? Everyone looks at it
yeah, I can't,
differently.
what's the word like? It's not a translation, the conversion.
Conversion.
This is my perimenopause brain. The conversion, it starts off really nicely from a 36, 37, 38, but as it gets bigger, the millimeters um just move it out a bit. So our 42 is equivalent to a 9 or an 8. So
Mm.
yeah, that's where we, and we do half sizes in what I call our core range of shoes, like our court shoes. Court shoes are notorious for needing like a few millimeters more, a few millimeters less, which is basically what a half size is. It's literally tiny, but because court shoes can slip off and there's no straps to hold you
Yeah,
in,
yeah.
like or laces like a trainer where you can get away with being a half size different. So in the court shoes we do half sizes as well. And apparently it's a very British thing. I was chatting to the factory owner in Portugal when I went the other day, and he said it's only ever the Brits that want half sizes. No other country really wants that. I don't know
Oh,
what it is.
that's interesting then, isn't it?
I don't know. Don't know why. There's no rhyme or reason particularly why. I think we've just got used to it, or don't know. I don't know.
Maybe it. And I'd love to also touch because obviously on your website as well, you've got the whole section about resell and repair
Oh yes.
because you're really proud of that service that you offer as well. Tell us a little bit more about how that came about and what that entails.
So I'm very conscious that our shoes are price premium. They're not cheap shoes. Um, and this is not because I'm making masses of profit. I wish I was. Maybe one day. But it's because the shoes are expensive to buy and make. So they're made in Portugal, they're ethically made. Portugal has, a minimum wage standard like we have in this country. So it costs a lot of money to make the shoes. And if you watch any of the videos on our YouTube channel or on our Instagram about how the shoes are made, they touch so many hands to get to the final product. So they're expensive to make, so we have to charge a certain price, otherwise we don't have a business, basically. I can't make more shoes. But I am conscious of that they're not cheap shoes. But
But
they're
I
beautifully
think,
made. We use a lot of beautiful leathers. When you
yeah,
hold them,
yeah.
you're like, oh my God, these are not a pair of shoes that you're going to find on the high street. So I'm very proud that they're worth the money that you pay, because if you think about all the shoes that you have in your wardrobe that you can't wear anymore because they're not
Yeah.
comfortable, then you may as well spend a bit more money on a pair of shoes that you know are going to be comfortable until they die.
And I
But
think, Jennifer, sorry to interrupt you,
yeah,
I think that's absolutely paramount now. I think women they're happy to invest for good quality
yeah,
and for comfort.
yeah,
If
exactly. And we
you've
give
got
them both.
it's all of it. So it's women, I do think they look at it and go, does it feel comfortable? Am I getting value for money? How has it been made? There are so many kind of points women look at now. I think, I don't think you should apologize for your price point because of everything that goes into it,
Yeah,
which is
I know it's worth it, and I regularly do, like competitor shopping, or going to shops to understand like where the quality of our shoes is based,
Yep.
compared to other shoes out there. And we are, considering all the technical bits that we add into our shoes, well above anything else around our price point, or anything that is much more, if you're going to Selfridges these days and I'm holding the shoes and I'm like, my God, these are like £800. I know how much they cost to make, and they're no better at all than our shoes. We use the same materials, the same construction, but ours are more comfortable. So I don't apologize for it, but I'm aware
Yeah,
that
yeah.
they're not Primark shoes or whatever. They're not cheap shoes. Um, so I wanted to kind of build in some kind of circular economy, I guess it's called. That's kind of the buzzword, where women, we might buy a pair of shoes for a specific dress for a specific occasion, say for example, but then you look on a website and you're like, oh, I really like them in that color for a different occasion for a different dress. But I've got these ones I've barely worn. Instead of putting them on Vinted, which you could do, or on eBay or wherever, we've created like our own branded resell part of the website. So when you go there that it's Calla customers looking for Calla shoes.
Yeah, yeah.
So you can sell them on there and then either use the money to go and buy whatever you want, or you can use the money, get a bit of extra credit and, buy another pair of Calla shoes. So it gives women who want to try Calla shoes the opportunity to buy from trusted, Calla,
Yeah, yeah. Love
sellers.
it.
So we do that. And then the repair service, that's a really lovely company that a lady set up who really believes in the circular economy, and she wants people to be repairing their shoes rather than just going out and buying another pair and chucking them into landfill. So, and sometimes it could be like a strap's broken, or your buckles come off, or it's something really simple, and you want to get them repaired. And so we offer that service as well. So you just take a photo of the shoe, and then it uses AI to work out what you need, and it gives you a price accordingly. You can just post them off, and they get posted back to you, and they're all repaired by local cobblers in the north of, not far from me actually. I went up to visit one of them a few weeks ago and made a really nice little film of this. It's owned by a woman as well, this cobbler. So I kind of like that, all these like
Yeah, yeah.
these female business owners and founders, and she fixes all the shoes. So yeah, so that's kind of an addition to additional service, and also my, acknowledgement that you might want a new pair of shoes, but you feel like I've already got 10 in my wardrobe. If you can sell a few of them and then buy some more, does it, is that girl
Yeah,
math?
yeah.
Justify the cost. And then
Yeah,
also it gives, people who come on the site but don't necessarily can't afford that brand new pair of shoes, and they might want to buy a second, then they know that they're going to be quality because they come from Cala customers and they're not getting ripped off.
yeah. Oh, I love it. And do you know what? I have learned so much today about you and your business. And listen, I love the brand. I've recommended it to so many women over the years. And I would just say to everybody, if you're listening to this podcast and thinking, oh, I need to go and have a look, please go and have a look at Jennifer's Instagram, have a look at the Calla website. I will put all the details in the show notes so you can just go and like click on the show notes and you'll be directed. Jennifer, before we finish, have you got, because I know you've just recently done the advert,
Yeah.
which I think was just amazing. Have you got, because I can just imagine you're not the person to sit there and just sit there still. I know you're probably very, very busy brain. What have you got in your brain for the brand coming up? Have you got something else, or is it just all about still creating more visibility of these gorgeous, comfortable, stylish shoes that make women confident?
Well, of course, brand awareness is the hardest thing to do as a small
Yeah.
brand. I've got tons of money to do that. So brand awareness is massive for us. But I've got kind of, I want to do I want to create the most comfortable ballet flats in the world. And I've got my prototype for it. And we do already create like really, do really
Yeah,
nice
yeah.
flats, but I want to do ones with a removable insole as well, because that's what women tend to ask us for more than anything else. They want a
Okay.
removable insole because if they have a particular foot problem, they want to put their own in. But I want it to have a removable, I want the insole to be in there to be amazing, but is also removable. And also look beautiful and stylish and be supportive. And no one will know that maybe you've got a shoe on that might be a little bit orthopedic because they won't look like it. So I've been trying to develop this for 2 years and I'm hoping to be able to launch it soon. And it's in conjunction with an ex-principal ballerina. Because as we know, ballerinas use their feet more than anyone
Yeah,
else in
yeah.
the world, and their feet need comfort more than anything else. And we have, runners that create running shoe brands. We have, whatever, what's Vans? Vans is skateboarders, isn't it? That we have all of these brands, footwear brands that have been born out of a need for a specific sport. But dance, I kind of call it off-duty dances. Want a really nice supportive pair of ballet flats that they can run in between, wherever they need. So that's kind of something that we're about. Well, we're really close. It just takes so long
Oh,
to develop. We're really close to launching that. So that's the next thing for Calla.
oh, that's so exciting. And thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
That's so exciting. But I have had the most amazing time talking to you. We've nearly talked for about an hour. That's
Yeah,
just
oh God, that's
unbelievable.
just shut
But
me
it's
up.
brilliant because we've covered so much. If you're listening, please go and have a look at the website. All the details are in the show notes. I'm going to say thank you again, Jennifer, for coming, for spending your time, for sharing information about the brand. We've loved having you here. Um, so please go and have a look at the website and people will come to you and see all your gorgeous pieces. Thank you so much for
Yeah,
coming back to
thank
the
you.
podcast. Thank you to everyone who's listened to this one. Really, really hope you've enjoyed it and you've learnt some new things as well about the designing of these gorgeous shoes. Jennifer, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to everybody, and I will speak to you all next week. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Bye.